Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Pre-Med Radio. My name is Neela Bandla, and I am the host of this show. And today I'm joined with Krishna. How are you doing today, Krishna?
I'm doing well, Neela. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Krishna just graduated NYU with a major in biology with a minor in data science and physics. So today we're going to be talking about the pre-medical college process. So my first question for you is, what are some of the activities and things of that sort that you did during high school to get into pre-med in NYU, especially since NYU is such a, I would say, prestigious college?
So in high school, I think the one thing that kind of set me apart from a lot of people that were applying to college, considering a lot of people from my high school went to Rutgers or went to Temple or went to local schools as well. One thing that kind of set me apart is that I was doing things that weren't necessarily pre-med. I played sports, I played tennis, I started a tennis team in my high school. And another thing I wanted to mention is that my high school, Woodbridge Academy, was or is a very well-known school for medicine or people who want to go into medicine. Focuses on allied health, biomedical sciences. Definitely shaped like kind of how my perception of medicine would be like. I wasn't really sure about the whole field before I started high school, but like going into class and doing classes based on medical terminology or interventions or like dynamics of healthcare, how the healthcare system would is gonna work. I think those things kind of helped prepare me for where I am right now. Some other things I did in high school, I was a part of HOSA. Um, I'm not sure. I can't even remember what it stands for, but like for 3 years, I was a part of that, and it was a good part of my high school experience. Did student council for a little bit as well, and on top of that, I would say like outside of school, which again was a very big pre-med kind of heavy aspect of my life back then. But outside of school, I shadowed for a doctor for a couple of years. Actually shadowed for a doctor in that focused on pulmonology and a dentist, and I volunteered at a hospital for some time as well. Um, and yeah, I know a couple people that were in my grade or in like around my age that were doing EMS training, which I actually was going to start. But then for me at the time, COVID happened, so I wasn't able to finish it. I did some training, but I never was able to really go along with that or complete it that much. But yeah, I think whatever I did in high school, I think it definitely helped me a lot. Even now, like after graduating from college, it definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of the things that you've said, it's kind of like the typical things, but also I think it's also important to have kind of from what I've because I'm just like I'm like a rising junior right now, so I'm just we're just trying to figure that out. And like I think it is a big part to just not only go for towards medicine ECs. So a part of all of these courses that you took and everything, what inspired you to take kind of this route of medicine?
So again, this is like a really common question, actually. Like, basically, you break down the question into the smallest part. Why doctor? It's a very common question, especially if you're applying to medical schools, which I'm doing right now. Applying to medical schools or even applying for like medical internships, which I've done. The why doctor question, I feel like, is one of the hardest questions if you're a pre-med student. What causes you to kind of become a doctor? Um, for me, I'm very interested in advancing our society, right? What is one thing that we can't have AI or something replace in the future? It's doctors or people who need to be able to help people, right? To control the way that people are, living as well, right? I work in a hospital currently, and seeing the amount of people that are thankful every single day, like going to doctors, going to residents, going to nurse practitioners, whatever, and they're saying thank you so much. Like my son wouldn't have like been here today if it wasn't for you. Seeing that gratitude that people are able to give and seeing the smile on people's faces is something that like it really resonates with me. Um, I definitely feel like I don't want to say I'm altruistic in a sense, but I definitely feel like doctors are kind of obliged to give towards the greater good in society. We're trying to help people, and I think that's our mission statement as much as simple as we can make it, right? It's to help people and to be there for people who aren't able to see tomorrow or worried about what they're gonna do tomorrow, right? Are they gonna be here tomorrow? It's to give people that hope or, be an attorney for them to see how long they can, be happy or they can prolong their life or to ensure that they're better off in the future. Again, I started when I was in eighth grade. I was 12, 13 years old. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in my life. My parents are software engineers at their heart.
Yeah.
So there are not that many, there's no doctors in our family, nobody in the medical profession. So I decided that I was very interested in science. So I decided that I wanted to go to this high school that kind of focused on allied health biomedical sciences. Like again, that really helped me a lot. But the core, I just feel like my interests are in science, research, especially research in healthcare is something that I'm very, very interested in. Right. I've been working with a lot of research in the past 4 years, and like seeing how, innovative technologies can help people, gain loss of limb function
Mhm.
or like stem cell research to help grow back cells in a person's colon or gut and things like that are at the forefront of our technological like advances. I feel
Yeah.
like as a doctor, that's something that I really would love to do and be a part of. So I guess that kind of like influenced me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I think it's also kind of important to understand like a lot of the time when we're thinking about med, a lot of people try to go in for like money and stuff, but a lot of it is sort of like a passion. And uh yeah. So with research, because I know that you just mentioned about research and stem cells. So how important is research to you, and how important is research for students in high school, if they want to go into pre-med?
All right. So that's a good question. For me, I did about 2 years of research in a lab in NYU that focused on the visual system. Specifically, it's using viral vectors to kind of induce glaucoma in mice. Also, if you're gonna go do research and especially biomedical research, you're gonna be working with like mice, like rodents. It's very common. Um, but yeah, research is definitely a very big part of my life. Again, I worked there for 2 years and had a great experience. Right now, I currently have a job at Columbia University as a clinical research coordinator, overseeing clinical trials, which is a lot more different than the wet lab things that I was doing in NYU. Um, I would say like for high schoolers. In high school, I did zero research, like absolutely not. I didn't know how important research was. I knew a couple people that had the ability to do research, right? As when I went to college, people were saying like, "Hey, I did this, I did that." I wasn't. I was at first I was like, "Okay, wow, you did a lot more than me, and you're gonna, you have a much better chance of getting into med school or getting a job."
Yeah.
But I would say for high schoolers, I think getting familiar with like how to write stuff or how like clinical trials work. In my junior year of high school, in 11th grade, we had this one class for it was like introduction to clinical research.
Mhm.
As much as I hated that class because it was just so tedious, I think it definitely did help me a lot
Mhm.
in college. It focused mostly on like how clinical trials work, right? Like from stage 1 to 4, kind of how like how research is kind of developed along the way, starting from like cellular to like working with humans, like what are the types of studies, like case studies, longitudinal, blah blah blah, how to use statistics. I think that kind of helped a little bit, but again, a lot of people go into college not knowing any of this stuff, and also research in high school is pretty tough to kind of handle.
Mhm.
It is it again everything that you do in high school is a plus. That's what my mentor told me. Like anything you do in high school that's not just studies is a plus. If you are able to get research done, or if you're in high school and you're interested in research, by all means you can apply. But I wouldn't say it's a very big priority. Again, I got a really good way ahead without doing any research until I was like in my sophomore year of college, right?
Mhm.
Even my freshman year, I cold emailed a bunch of people. I tried my best to get a research job or get like even unpaid research. As a freshman, I got zero offers. I emailed like hundreds of people. Almost every day I was cold emailing, giving my resume, whatever. I didn't get anything, but as soon as like my freshman year of college was over, I got it. And I never looked back. I would say again for high schoolers, I wouldn't say it's the most important thing, but being able to recognize like what research is and like how important it is for you as a medical student, like someone who's into medicine, I think
Yeah.
it's very important because when it comes to medical school applications, which is the goal that we're all working towards, um, med schools love if you have research experience because in as a med student, for like high schoolers is way in the future, um, there you're gonna have to do research as a med student. So, kind of getting a head start in that in college is very helpful. High school though, if you have, there are much more important things I feel. It definitely is important as a med student again, but like as a high schooler, you can do it. It's a plus, but it shouldn't be like the main priority or the main priority.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I've done a little bit of research myself, and it's like really, really complicated from what I've like seen, and I've only done like literature reviews. So, I think that from what I've seen in my like obviously again, I'm only like a rising junior in high school, but it's definitely a little bit more complicated from what I've seen trying for like getting into like it's a like definitely a lot more complicated with research in college than it is in like high school that you would typically do. Um, like talking about like the kind of high school, like are there any other programs other than like research or anything that you may recommend high school students to do and why?
Mm, Again, like I think the biggest thing for anybody who has the ability to do it, is shadowing, volunteering. Those are the best things I can give. Working in a nursing facility or like volunteering in a nursing facility is one. Like a veterans hospital is another one. There, like in New Jersey, there's a lot of places you can volunteer there. Like in a hospital, I know JFK Hospital allows for volunteers. Same with Robert Wood Johnson in New Brunswick. They also accept volunteers that are like high school age. That's really good. For academics, like again, I was only part of HOSA. It was like health occupational kind of services. I'm like it was again it was like a long time ago. I don't know what it stands for, but it was very helpful for me. Kind of learning how doctors work, right? Learning what an attending was, learning what like what are the problems in healthcare as well, which there are a lot of them, especially in America. Um, but like for in my opinion, I think that working maybe finding like not a certain summer internship, I feel like that is it's good. Again, it's a positive, but it shouldn't be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna find a summer internship whether like it kills me or not. I think that's a little overdoing it. Um, but like volunteering, I like trust like as much as I can like endorse it, like volunteering I think is a very, very good way to kind of get a start into it.
Yeah.
And it helps a lot for colleges when you're applying to colleges saying that you shadowed or volunteered. I think that's very, very helpful. Just if you have a lot of people nowadays have like doctors that they know in their, outer circles. Asking your parents for like someone's number or even just like if you go to the doctor, you see like the doctor on the way to school, right? You see a doctor's office. You can give them a call and say, "Hey, I'm interested." I definitely did that a lot when I was in high school. I shadowed again for a good amount of time, and I
Yeah.
knew I have a neighbor who worked as a dentist, so I just asked him, "Hey, can I shadow you?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely. You can start tomorrow." Just like having those experiences is really good, but programs like I know Harvard has some like summer programs that are good for healthcare like people who are interested in healthcare. Um, it should again those are like for people who are aiming very very high, and it is very good because everyone should be aiming high. It's not, but I feel like if you aim for those things and you don't get them, you're gonna be skipping out on a lot of the things that kind of make you a good pre-med student.
Yeah.
Like especially volunteering, getting your volunteering hours in, shadowing, those two are the most important things that you can do, right? Like a good program at Stanford or Harvard or any of those big shot schools, they're very, very good and they look good. But if you have those and you don't have the basics, it doesn't look that great on applications, but also you're kind of missing out on what it really means to be a doctor. You're learning, healthcare dynamics
Yeah.
or, how to do research in these programs. I just feel like having like a more having clinical experience as much as you can around this age is very, very helpful. And it doesn't even have to be a paid job. I didn't get paid at all shadowing or volunteering. Obviously, shadowing you won't get paid at all. Volunteering, you're not even expected to get paid. But definitely, again, those are my two biggest recommendations for anybody who is interested. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, shadowing and volunteering in a hospital or in a clinic for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and those are like the basic stuff. And uh do you know like any ways to kind of encapsulate those experiences maybe in a way for like for example, like let's say someone is trying to explain like their shadowing experiences and stuff, and like I guess not necessarily in an official document, but like for example, over excuse me, this summer I'm doing some shadowing experiences, and I think I'm going to be writing something about it. So how may someone go about that?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is just write down, like kind of have a list of what you're doing while you're shadowing there. Whether it's for me, like when if I was shadowing at this dentist office, like nearby, I would kind of write down what I'm doing during that time. I would say like, oh yeah, I'm doing administrative tasks, which is filing, or I would be like, actually holding the suction in a person's mouth and like helping take x-rays or something like that or just filing stuff. I feel like if you have like a good list of what you're doing, what your responsibilities are, that's good. Another really good thing for any programs or colleges that you're applying to is to get a letter from them, from the person you're shadowing or someone who you're volunteering under. Getting a letter just saying like, hey, this person did these like tasks, whether it's administrative, whether it's actual clinical. But I mean, if you're like under the age of 18, it's like a little hard to do like actual clinical stuff, right? The most I really ever did was I put an iron gown over someone and or like one of those gowns over someone, and I stepped out of the room and pressed a button and it made an x-ray, or like held a suction and like gave water so that they can spit it out, or even like in the pulmonologist office, I was just holding the stethoscope and I got to hear people breathe,
Yeah.
right? So again, I didn't do that much, but it all depends on kind of how you frame it. You obviously can't go anywhere by saying, oh yeah, I did like I treated a patient. You didn't, right? Like you're not allowed to. That you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor yet either. Like I can bear like as an MA as well. Like I worked as a medical assistant. The
Hmm.
most I like I of course I did vitals and everything and took blood, but I didn't treat anybody. It all depends on like you have to be honest when you're doing these applications. You can a lot of people stretch the truth a lot, and I mean, colleges also recommend that you stretch the truth so that you can kind of show really how much you did, kind of so that it can fit into a category that they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting a letter from them is really helpful. I got a letter from the dentist I worked with, and he just said, "Oh yeah, this is exactly what this person did. He has this knowledge, and he did this as well." Right? Like whether it's like 3D mapping of someone's mouth or like shadowing and watching a root canal happen and taking notes. Um, yeah, I think for when you're going and doing applying for colleges especially, which is I think the most important thing, and you're talking about your shadowing experiences, yes, it's good to say that you shadowed. Um, but I think if you have a well-defined list of what you're doing, it's a lot better. It's very, very helpful. And these volunteering experiences that you'll have in a hospital per se, those things are very, very well defined. They're not, loose like a shadowing thing or like, I think those are something that you should be that pre-med students should be looking at because they're very, very well defined. They tell you exactly what this person is required to do and what they're expected to do and you can basically copy paste almost like what those requirements and put them on your resume saying hey this is what I did and you can cross check this because this was on the official description of the volunteering or shadowing position that I applied for.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it obviously will have to differ kind of per college. So, with that, um, why did you pick NYU for pre-med, and how may it compare to other kind of like colleges?
That's a good question. Actually, like ever since I graduated, I've been thinking about that all day, or every day. Just NYU was the best experience I could have possibly had. I applied
Mhm.
to 10 colleges. A lot of people I know, like I know a person who did the Common app and then the Coalition app, like they were just applying to like 50 colleges, and it's a waste. I feel like it's a waste of time. If you want
Mhm.
to apply to a bunch of colleges, by all means. But I applied to 10 colleges. I got into all of the colleges that I applied for. But the one college that I always wanted to go to, or like not always wanted to go to, but I wanted to go to ever since like I grew up and I was able to go to New York City by myself,
Yeah.
take some friends with me like 11th grade, 12th grade.
Mhm.
I wanted to go to New York, and I was interested in Columbia University, which is like uptown. It's in Harlem. In like in if you're looking at like where Manhattan is,
Mhm.
um, New York is kind of towards like the mid bottom, and then Columbia is all the way up at the top near
Yeah.
Harlem. I wanted to go to Columbia, but then I was looking at, prices. That was one thing. NYU is super expensive.
Yeah.
Columbia is also incredibly expensive. Ivy League schools, like I was thinking about a lot of things. But then the reason why I kind of set my eyes on NYU is because of the community there, right? I just wanted to be part of something that's not just pre-med. If I was only into like, pre-med and, law and like very academic things, like things that people think of when they think of like post-grad stuff, right? Like law, for example. If I was to be kind of boxed in that, I felt like I would be limiting my social interaction as well. Obviously, Columbia is a great school. I didn't even apply there actually, but
Mhm.
but the one school that I really wanted to go to is NYU just because it had amazing opportunities. And also, when I was applying, I looked into their med school. The NYU med school is probably like top 5 med schools in the country. Um, I definitely was very interested in going there. And if you're an alumni from your school and you're applying to a med school that's in that community,
Yeah.
you have a little bit of a better chance. You also get to like familiarize yourself with the dean or people that are working there, professors, researchers, that are working in that in the med school. So I was really interested in that as well. Also, another thing is I applied to a lot of the schools that most people would apply to. I applied to honors colleges, like in the area as well, Northeastern, Northwestern. I applied to a lot of good schools. I was actually kind of torn between two schools at one point, but then I kind of chose NYU because, again, New York, for me, you can't beat New York. The
Yeah.
experiences that I've had in New York are like second to none. I'm just so grateful that I got to spend it there. The late nights there, the early mornings, just like it's the best city in the world. Wouldn't trade it for anything else. And also, again, the price was a big thing for me. And it is for every person, regardless of whether what your parents say, right? Like my parents, yes, they paid for 2 years out of my 2 years of my tuition,
Yeah.
cost them a pretty penny, but at the end of the day, like again, the experiences that I had there are amazing.
Mhm.
I had a bunch of jobs there in NYU, a lot of opportunities, like an incredible amount of opportunities.
Mhm.
Also, I was able to like make friends that were not just pre-med, but people that were in econ or music or art
Mhm.
or things that had nothing to do with pre-med. And they're some of my closest friends. So
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at like what college you want to apply to, like the community kind of matters. A lot of people from central New Jersey, northern New Jersey, whatever, from like this area, tri-state area, they apply to Rutgers. They go to a lot of people go to Rutgers. I applied to Rutgers, and a lot of my high school, like my core high school friend group, they all went there as well. So I felt a little left out by like, kind of
Mhm.
going to another school, but my parents told me, you know what, it's fine. You have like the opportunities that you get there will, compensate for the cost.
Yeah.
And they definitely have. Like the experiences that I got are much more worth than the the amount of money my parents put in. So yeah, I feel like just looking at opportunities, looking at lab positions, clinical opportunities is very, very important in picking out
Mhm.
a college. Would not have chosen any other college other than NYU.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like NYU is it's like an amazing school, and um, yeah, and like also just to clarify, like the med school, are you like looking into the med school in NYU?
So the med school in NYU, Grossman, it's so the biggest thing about it for anybody who's applying to med school right now is that it's free. If you're
Mhm.
if you want to go to med school there, and you get in, you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
That's why it's very, very competitive. It's again the best med school in the world, or not, sorry, not the best med school. It's top five, I would say. But it's in the best city in the world. How about that? Like
Yeah.
it's a lot of people apply there. They don't have that many seats open. It's something that I definitely had on my radar, but if I'm looking at it from like a huge standpoint right here, and I'm not applying there. I definitely wanted to when I like applied to NYU, but when it comes down to it, they have a very, very selective process. Like they have
Mhm.
an application fee. If anything, I could apply there. It's not like, something that I would, it's a very big reach for me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Their average MCAT is like a 524, which
Ooh,
is
yeah.
like basically getting like, I don't know, 5 questions wrong on the SAT.
Hmm.
Like equivalent, I would say, right? Like if I had to do an equivalent thing, I would say like a 520 or higher. A 520 on the MCAT is like getting a 1580.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's very, very tough. The average Mets like you need to have like about a 513 or higher to get
Hmm.
into like competitive med schools, and a 505 to get into like any med school or any MD school.
Hmm.
But NYU is a 524, which is very, very tough. Don't have a 524, and that's the average as well. So, to be above average is really, really pushing it. Again, MCAT, I did very well on it, and it's enough for a lot of med schools. I'm very, very close to that 524 range that NYU is, but unfortunately, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
And also, their GPA is like a 3.96, which is a little higher than what I have.
Hmm.
I would definitely be a below average applicant, or like a matriculant, meaning like I would be a below average. I would have below average stats if I were to get in.
Hmm.
Um, but I think, yeah, I mean, I would definitely I wanted to go there. I tried my best to get in. I think if anything, I could apply. I might have a shot, I might not, but I have my sights set up for some other med schools. Um, it didn't play that much of a role in deciding where I was going to go to like for undergrad, but I definitely was very interested in it. I did research there. Um, I worked there as a volunteer. There's a lot of things I did there to
Hmm.
try getting in. But unfortunately, sometimes especially when you're applying to like these med schools, or sorry, if you're applying to colleges, and you're doing 4 years of college, it's very, very tough to get into a med school that you really, really would like to go to. um I like, again, for med schools, a lot of people apply to like 50 and they get into like two.
Yeah.
So med schools are very, very, like very, very tough to get into. Again, for college, I applied to 10 colleges, got into all 10. For med school, it's definitely not going to be like that. I'm going to apply to a lot of them, and hopefully I'm able to get into one. But
Yeah.
it's a lot more different than how college student or like people who are high schoolers or high schoolers going into college. It's a lot more different than that experience. Like if you get like my mentor was telling me, if you get into med school, just take it. Doesn't matter if it's in the middle of Nebraska or it's in New York, just take it because
Yeah.
like getting into med school is very, very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also what I've seen from like family friends and things who have gone into medicine because I think like a huge part of my family is also like just big on medicine and things, and it's like very difficult from what I've heard. So my last question for you is, how could future physicians prepare for their education in medicine?
Okay, so people like if just really quickly, just like a counter question, but is this like kind of focused towards like high schoolers or is it like, for people who are
I
in
would
undergrad?
say like more so like the pre-med like pre-meds
Okay, so,
because
so I'll do like from like high schoolers and for undergrads, I guess. For high schoolers, like a little bit about me though, when I graduated from high school, I my GPA wasn't like nearly good. I was very surprised that I got into all these colleges. I think what really kind of set me apart was my SAT score, also my like my outside of school stuff that I was doing, like varsity sports and I don't know, just I feel like my essays also really, really helped. My essays were a lot like even looking up some of my friends, we were just comparing it a couple of days. My essays really helped for getting into colleges. But to kind of when you're looking at like what school you're gonna go to, right? And like what educate like where what subjects they have, especially their freshman year there, like going from a senior in high school to a freshman in in college or even like a junior in high school and looking at it. Again, you're gonna have like your weed out classes, right? Your intro to chemistry, intro to bio, those type of classes, and then like as when you're a sophomore in college, you're gonna have your like the one subject that everyone kind of like fails at one point, but organic chemistry, which is very tough. At least for me, it was like I know some people who got like 90, 95s on everything. But I feel like, kind of dealing with failure is a really big thing. My first exam that I've ever taken in college was or like first pre-med exam was general chemistry one. And like the first exam, the first midterm for that. And I got an 84 and I was like, okay, I think that like sure, 84, I don't that's a B. That's not the best way to start my college career. And I was
Mhm.
looking at the averages and the average was a 75. So I was like, okay, the average is a 75. I got an 84, which means I'm above average, but does this mean I'm a B student?
Mhm.
And it wasn't because the cutoff was like an 85 or above is an A plus or an A, sorry, and then like an 80 to an 85 was an A minus. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, it's a lot more different than high school, but like as I was going through and I was getting like, a lot worse grades. I think one time in organic chemistry, I was like what, 19 years old. The first exam that I ever took in organic chemistry, which is like, or sorry, the second exam that I took in organic chemistry as a sophomore in college, I got a 45. And I was like, what the heck? This is like the worst grade ever, right? Like this is less than a 50. And
Yeah.
then I was looking at the averages and I was above average. So it's stuff that you can like again these grades aren't great, like there are people who get like hundreds on everything, but kind of knowing where you are as well, like yeah, sure, I'm here, but like I'm above average, there are other people, but I should be happy with my progress. I
Yeah.
think that's really like a humbling part of high school, like or sorry, of college. um Even in med school, like a lot of the exams that you have are pass fail. So either you pass or you get a
Mhm.
number score maybe, but like it's a pass or you fail it kind of thing. Um, like otherwise, like it doesn't matter what number you got as long as you passed or you failed. Um, kind of understanding like how failure happens, right? Like again, I've failed, I've gotten below average on a lot of my exams. And yeah, it's disheartening and it hurts, but like sometimes it just happens and it's just part of the learning curve, I guess. You just have to improve on it and get better, right? Not like again, a lot of people kind of fall in that middle like section and a lot of people don't do a lot worse, a lot of people do a lot better. But and I was like I would say I was kind of like maybe 80th percentile for like for what I was for my
Mhm.
classes. Um, for like preparing for it, it's just, you know, you have your AP exams, right? AP Bio, AP
Mhm.
Chemistry. They might have, I don't know how much they helped me that like at all, but in college it gets very, very in depth. You're gonna not just for like all like not just for bio or chemistry or organic chemistry, but for like the specific, biochemistry, or if you're doing like electives, right? If you're doing like a bio major or you're doing a neuroscience major or something like that, they get very, 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 very specific and in depth in terms of the concepts. So there's really not much I would say like that I prepared for
Mhm.
to get into college. Like I didn't really change my studying habits until like I was a freshman.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything differently in senior year or anything like that. And I just kind of made a 4-year plan for myself, right? Saying this is how the next 4 years of my life are gonna turn out in NYU. And I kind of did that. But for for like the classes that you take, you just have to look at the syllabus, fail your first couple of times and
Mhm.
just come back swinging. Like that's the best like advice that I can give.
Yeah.
It happens, like a lot of people do fail and it hurts a lot as well. Like trust me, it really was like really discouraging when I had to tell my parents like, yeah, look, I like failed my, my bio class, my bio test. Right.
Yeah.
I got an A in bio, which is fine, which is the best possible outcome for me. But my first test, I failed, and I wasn't really sure why. I studied and everything, but I realized like, there's some things that you need to study a little better. Maybe, cut back on going with your friends to like, different places, or, whatever, right? Listening to
Yeah.
this or going to like this club or whatever. I scaled back on a couple of things. Just kind of focused on really what is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then even for like people who are in on like when you get into college, your main goal is to get all A's, right? You want to get that no matter what. The best GPA you have is the best chance you're gonna get into med school. So, studying for it is really important. Studying every day is really, really important. But at the same time, kind of making, yeah, or keeping your
Yeah.
friends and social kind of stuff to a
Yeah.
bay, not like cutting it out completely, but like, just having
Yeah.
it in the back, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I've also seen. It's just very different in college, I think, for a lot of majors. And I think for pre-med, that's really important. Um,
Hmm.
so that was my last question for you. I just want to thank you for letting me interview you. This was really insightful, and it's actually really, really helpful for people who want to go into pre-med. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I mean, if you haven't my personal information, you can, or like my number, my email, anybody can just give me a call or
Yeah,
text or email, and I can answer any questions if needed.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.